found out that my son was living in addiction, my brain, my heart, everything kind of busted, and all I could think about was, what did I do wrong? How did he end up like this? And I, rethinking about the childhood and the mother that I was, and I was present and I was there, and just all the things that I thought, what did I do wrong to cause this behavior? My love for him, my caring for him, making sure he had better than what I had, all of these things. And then to find out the life that he lived, where he became an addict, and then he later, I don't know how many times, been arrested and felonies, and even into unarmed robbery. And I think, how did we get here? Where is the kid that I raised? And this was brought back to me this morning when I was reading in the book of Ezekiel, and chapters 15 and 16, and it's just heart-wrenching because God talks about, how Jerusalem was like a useless vine, but his grace, and how that he literally took Jerusalem, and the love and the care and the nurturing that he did. And it talked about how that, how he literally saw this, and from every angle, what he supplied to make it the place that it should be. But what happened? It gained its independence. In verse 14, it says this: "Then your fame went forth among the nations on account of your beauty, for it was perfect because of my splendor, which I bestowed on you, declares the Lord." I think about it, my child, and I think about all the things I bestowed up on that child to become beautiful and successful. But then I think, how did I end up here? How did I end up in a courtroom? How did I watch him? And it goes, how did all this come to be? And I thought about that spiritually. And I think about what God redeemed us from. I was saved at a very early age. And I think about all of his splendor, all of his beauty, all of his blessings, all the gifts and talents that he bestowed on me. And what's so the enemy right here is where he has that moment to where we feel like we are why we are the way we are. We feel like we are independent. We feel like that we can do anything. Sometimes it's hard not to be boastful or prideful about who we are, whether it's beauty, talents, gifts, whatever it may be. And that is the very position that we want to turn away from. Because it was in that position when Jerusalem felt that way that they went out on their own and started, oh my goodness, the outrageous acts that they went through. And I think about me and my son, and I think about all that I did to prepare that, and then how did we end up here? You see, the same is in our spiritual life too. Maybe you have a wayward child, a daughter, a prodigal son, and you think, how did this happen? But if you think about that in your spiritual relationship with God, do you ever wonder sometimes if he would say, how did this happen? With all the blessings, all the support, all the mercy, all the grace, all the peace, all the things that his word promises to give us, how did we end up where we are? So this has been encouraging and yet discouraging to think, I did everything I could to give him the right upbringing. It was his choice to go down the road he went down. And it was painful to watch him endure consequences and to suffer because of his choices. And we have to remember too that our consequences will require sufferance and payment. Even though God forgives us and can redeem us, it's the consequence that lingers. But what we have to remember at that moment, that one day, that one time that we may think, I got this, we need to remember how we got this, how we are able to have this. All of the way our mind thinks, or the gifts or the abilities that have been strengthened and grown with practice. We have to realize that the very inward parts of our body, our brain, our blood, our lungs, our eyes, all the things that we have been blessed with when we were uniquely formed in our mother's womb, he was preparing that place for a specific purpose. Now, all of my kids aren't where I thought they would be. As a parent, you dream. You think, this is where my kid's going to be. This is what I see them doing. But when they get to the age of 18 or that independent age, their idea of what they're going to be and do does not align with what a parent does. As a parent, we see things for the future. We see things that could, oh, don't do this because you could end up here. And we know the pain because of what we've experienced by our own choices. And spiritually, when God developed and created us, He had a plan for us, a dream for us, a purpose for us. There's a song that says, dream for you, and it says, let me dream for you. Let me take you to places you never thought you could go, do things you never thought you could do. If we allowed God to dream for us and allowed Him to have control of that dream and be this vessel that was just so willing to receive everything for Him, from Him, to develop that purpose He created us for. Imagine if we were all living our purpose. And I want to be careful after reading all this because I see how easy it is from my son's experience to my experience with God. How easy it would be for the enemy to allow us to get to a place to think that it's all because of us. In that verse again, it says, then your fame went forth among the nations on account of your beauty, for it was perfect because of my splendor, said God, which I bestowed on you, declares the Lord. May we never take for granted the beauty, the gifts, the talent, everything about us that's been bestowed on us by God. May we never forget the person who gave us those gifts. May we never forget the gift He gave us of salvation through His Son. May we never forget the delicacy of our relationship and how important it is for us to remain on track for the dream He has for us, for the purpose that He has for us. I just can't imagine if everybody was living their God-given purpose, what it would do to this world, how it could turn things around and move mountains and change nations. Today, ask Him, am I on the right path? Am I becoming too independent? Am I leading a life that you didn't mean for me to live? How can we get back on track to actually living and becoming the purpose that He created us to be?